Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel today for another speed build. So today I'm going to be doing the haunted mansion in the Glade of Trust. I'm currently redoing my whole Glade of Trust, so I thought I'd start off with this build and do kind of an overgrown mansion landscape. So as you can see, I kind of popped it in this back left corner of the glade. I knew this was kind of the only spot for it because it is such a large building, so I knew to pop that in there first, and then I started mapping out where I wanted my pathing to go. I hadn't fully decided yet what pathing or anything like that I wanted to use yet. I was kind of playing around with different ones, and as you'll see towards the end of the video, I do change up a little bit, but I just started off with this pathing just to get an idea of where I wanted the build to go and how I could map in the iron fences. Some of the first larger items I popped into the build straight away was some of the stone benches from the DLC, as well as the Beauty and the Beast fountain, as I knew I wanted to use these in the build. So I kind of placed them down just to give me an idea of where I wanted them on the left hand side, just so I could see how much space I was going to need. For lighting in this build, I wanted to keep it quite minimal just because I wanted the glade to feel quite overgrown and mystical, but I did use some of the iron street lamps that were in the most recent winter star path. So if you didn't take part in the star path, unfortunately you won't be able to get your hands on these. However, some of the craftable iron lamps that you can get from your crafting bench will work just the same in the build. As you can see, quite early on I decided to use some of the rock rugs for the pathway in this build. I don't tend to use these as often in many of my builds anymore, purely because they are quite difficult to make kind of winding pathways, which is what I tend to do for most of my builds. It just kind of looks odd as you can't really change the shape of them. However, in this build I knew it was going to be a very straight pathway, so I felt like these made it look a lot more fancy and fit the mansion vibe. Next I went in with a lot of the trees, as I knew this would be an overgrown area. I did play around with some of the Ancients Landing trees from the DLC, however I just felt like they didn't really quite fit perfectly how I wanted them to, and I really wanted to use some of the original Glade of Trust trees just because they are more swampy and overgrown, which was kind of the vibe I was going for with this build. I just felt like they fit this build better using the swamp style trees that originally came with the glade, but I will be using the other trees around the biome, so it will still have that vibe, but I mainly wanted to use these swampy trees. Then I went in with lots of the other foliage, like the bushes and flowers. I used a lot of the different biome bushes just to give it kind of a whimsical feel. So I did use a lot of the Glade of Trust ones, but I also used Forest of Valor as well as Plaza bushes and trees. I then went in and added the foliage to the pond. I wanted to use a lot of the light up lily pads as well as reeds and brushes just to make this look very whimsical and overgrown, and I feel like the ponds do just tend to look better using these. Finally, I added in some of the flowers from other biomes. I did use the Ancient's Landing's light up flowers. I tend to use these everywhere, and I know I'll be using a lot of these in my glade just because they do really remind me of kind of a whimsical fairy vibe, but I could add other flowers if I wanted to. So if you are someone who doesn't have the DLC, any of the flowers from other biomes will fit perfectly into this build. Just chop and change them to how you want them to be and let your imagination do the rest. Some of the final touches I added into the build was adding some of these vases from Scrooge's shop. I feel like they just add a more kind of upscale regal vibe to the build without overpowering it too much, and I just added in the final rock rugs I needed. I also then made a small little rock pathway to the rock spot. I always like to leave rock spots open in biomes where I know I'm going to use them, so the ones in the glade I tend to use very often to get iron, so I wanted to leave that open and accessible, but just put some foliage around it just so it wasn't too out of place and kind of fit into the build. So that is my final build. I did take some photos of it during sunset as I felt it just looked so magical then with all the fireflies as well as the reflections on the water. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you have any questions about the build, feel free to let me know in the comments. As I said at the start of the video, I am currently redoing my entire Glade of Trust, so I am looking for things I can create in there to complete the biome. I do have some ideas at the moment. However, if there is anything in particular you want to see on a speed build before I decorate it completely, do let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to do builds for people or get some ideas from the community, so if you do, feel free to let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed the speed build, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy it. It means so much to me, as well as seeing your comments, and you can follow my other socials in the description. But I hope you'll have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!